everybody, and welcome to Dishing with Stephanie's Dish. We talk to people that have written cookbooks or books or food adjacent things because I can't get enough about talking about food. And today we have a great guest. She is Julie Jo Severson. She is the author of Oldest Twin Cities, A Guide to Historic Treasures. And I had read about this book and I thought, oh, that's cool. I wonder if she has stuff in there about restaurants and breweries because we have so much history in the Twin Cities, and indeed she does. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me here. This will be fun.
Yes, it will be fun. So how did you decide, are you like a born and bred Twin Citian, and how did you decide to undertake this project?
Yes, I'm a fourth generation Minnesotan, and I've lived in the Twin Cities most of my life. I first wrote a book called Secret Twin Cities, A Guide to the Weird, Wonderful, and Obscure, and that came out in 2020. Arrived mid-March, right when the cities were shutting down. So good timing on my part. I shoved them all in the corner for a couple of weeks because I thought, who's going to want to buy a travel guide right now?
Right.
But it turned out okay for Secret Twin Cities. It had a lot of social distancing ideas in it, coincidentally. But anyway, Oldest Twin Cities evolved from that book. About a year later, the publisher asked if I'd like to write another one. And I really wanted to do one of a historic nature because I just think with COVID and the really tough year that the Twin Cities had in 2020, including the murder of George Floyd and the civil uprising and businesses shutting down and being burned down, I just felt like I needed a reason to fall back in love with the Twin Cities. And I was feeling a loss of community and a loss of connection. And for me to feel connected to the region I live in is very important to me. I need to feel part of the fabric. And so I just thought focusing on enduring places in our midst and places that hung in there and have endured and have reopened, providing us continuity, kind of a comfort. That was good for my soul to focus my energy there. So that's why I kind of went in this direction.
Well, and one of the selections in the book is the oldest, best bar, which is our friend Tony Zaccardi, who bought it from our friend Lisa Hammer. I knew Lisa and Keith, and they had shepherded the bar, and then they sold it to Tony Zaccardi. And it's from 1906, apparently. It's an institution on Cedar Avenue. And you talk about sort of that pandemic and that coming back to life. You know, Tony is a good example of someone that really, he had just bought the bar and all of a sudden, it has to close and they're trying to hang on. And a lot of these bars and restaurants and distilleries really were in tough shape. So I was so glad that when we came out of the pandemic that Palmer's has come out of it. And tell me a little bit about the history of Palmer's in particular.
Yeah, and Tony he was really propelled into the national spotlight during that time.
Yes, he was, because he's an African-American man who owns this business in the heart of
he spray painted, Black-owned business in hopes to protect his business to deflect potential looters, and he was really a spokesperson and a comfort, I think, for the Twin Cities community during that time. We needed his voice.
And the music community too, because Palmer's has had such a history steeped in music.
Yeah, what a gem this place is. It's so unique with an Islamic mosque on one end and then that iconic mustachioed man against it on the other one. And as I write in the book, you rarely leave this place without a story to tell. Kind of a rough edge place. Maybe not everybody's going to feel comfortable there, but you're very welcome there no matter who you are, and you'll be invited to play a game of Scrabble or get into a deep conversation unless you're a jerk. Because if you're a jerk, you're going to get your name plastered on a Post-it note on the back wall, and you're not going to be welcome there at all.
That's funny.
But
another institution that is in downtown Minneapolis specifically, And I didn't realize that they had had a fire in 1989, but this was Glick's, the oldest downtown bar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of damage. And it's like seems like most of these places have endured fires or over the years.
Yeah,
But
you can imagine that. Yep.
yeah, they really came back from that. In fact, there was a moose in there. They have these, animal heads mounted all throughout the restaurant, and the moose in the back room had been stolen during a fraternity party there. And I think this group, whoever had stolen it, felt so bad because of the fire that reopening day they anonymously returned it, leaning it against the
Oh,
front
that's so
door,
cool.
to welcome everybody back. But yeah, my daughter was just there the other day. She's like, I'm at Glicks. I'm like, do you know that's in my book? She's
Yeah.
like, no, I didn't even know that. So
I had no idea either. Now, the Monte Carlo has been near and dear to my heart for some time, and my mom and dad got divorced, and my dad moved downtown, and that was really like, wow, because we were suburban girls. And the first weekend my dad had us, he took us into this like seedy alley, and he like went through this back door that had this weird sign above it and brought us in, and I thought he was bringing us into a pool hall, and I was like, oh my gosh, my dad has really tipped over here. And it turned out to be the loveliest bar. Inside it was actually the Monte Carlo, and he was kind of a regular there. What's the historic nature of the Monte Carlo?
yeah, well, the hum of the neon sign has kind of remained a constant in the North Loop bar. Uh, it's really exquisite in there with this mirrored wall behind the bar. Lends kind of an elegance to it all. But the whole North Loop area, the warehouse district is where the Milky Way candy bars and cream of pasta and pop-up toaster were invented. This is a real industrial place. The neighborhood has more than 60 buildings that are over a century old. A lot of them have been repurposed. A few of them are rehearsal spaces for the Minnesota Opera.
Yep.
And a lot of them are faded business signs that are repurposed. You see the old signs, ghost signs, sort of. But the Monte Carlo Bar and Grill have stood the test of time. It used to be mostly only for men, but then when it changed ownership. Mr. Rimsick, who owns a number of places in the Twin Cities, he kind of turned it into a destination for all.
Yeah.
And the patio is a great happening place now. Beijing style wings they're really famous for.
Yeah, the dry rubbed wings are my favorite.
Yeah.
A kind of funny one that I didn't expect would reach me and grab me, but it did. So I work on the Stone Arch Bridge Festival, and I curate a culinary market that happens underneath the Hennepin Avenue Bridge. And underneath that bridge, we have 38 10 by 10 booths of vendors that produce Minnesota made food products. And as I was looking through your book, it's the oldest bridge relic at First Bridge Park, which is where I am during these 2 days of the festival from 1855. And underneath that bridge, there's these giant anchors.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I sit on those anchors that's my chair during the 2 days of the festival. So I didn't realize they were so old.
Well, yeah, those date back to the very first bridge to cross the Mississippi River anywhere, right there at St. Anthony Falls. I mean, prior to that bridge back in 1855, people were crossing over the falls to get to the other side. And so, that first bridge didn't last real long. And then they created another one and another one. So anyway, these archaeological excavations revealed anchors from the original bridges, and so now they are under the Hennepin Bridge. Now you can see and sit on them if you want. There's plaques and
so cool.
Really interesting history at that park. Yep, right down from Milruns Park.
The oldest island venue in 1893 is the Nicollet Island Inn, which is still operating as a hotel, as a restaurant. It is a beautiful, gorgeous spot if you ever just want to like pop in for a drink, or they have delicious food too.
Yeah.
That's a great spot. And I didn't realize that David Shea was kind of responsible for bringing that back. he's designed so many
Yeah.
restaurants in the Twin Cities.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I didn't realize he was connected to that either until I started research. Yep. Talented guy. Yeah. That place, I learned a lot about, I didn't really, I didn't really know a lot about that fire that had kind of spread through Nicollet Island and all northeast Minneapolis, a very ravaging fire. And this was only one of two structures, industrial structures on the island to survive it. A fire started by some boys smoking. And so, again, these places that have endured, and at one point it was a men's shelter, Salvation Army men's shelter. You can't help but continue then to learn about and read about Nicollet Island.
Right.
So many storied history there, a couple donkeys, pearl and sheep. I really focused on that island and my Secret Twin Cities.
Who would have known that the oldest bowling alley was the Bryant Lake Bowl?
Yeah. I mean, that's a legendary spot in an Inland Lake neighborhood. And that's really evolved over the years. It used to be a Ford garage. They repaired, and apparently it's haunted by a mechanic who was crushed by a car there. But, at the heart of it is a 8-lane bowling alley old school, but around it now is a really funky, groovy restaurant that you would never expect for a bowling alley, and a cabaret with these red leather seats from Stillwater Junior High School where you can go to all kinds of events there. And there's a really cool drone video that went viral in 2021 that they created to support businesses struggling through the pandemic. It's the coolest, right up our alley. You can Google it, went viral. Yeah.
In 1964, Boca Chica became the oldest Mexican eatery, which is interesting because I know that the Silva family opened El Burrito Mercado a little bit further down the street in the 70s, early 70s. I didn't realize Boca Chica was that old, and it's still run by the family, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. Yep. Grandma Fria's seasoned pork tamales are still on the menu. Yeah, this place was a really delightful surprise walking into. You can go there after visiting the Waukesha Caves, the gangster tours there. That's a great place to go to afterwards. You just walk in, and every wall tells a story of the family's heritage, murals, Iramo Frias and Gloria Coronado. She was a petite, spunky lady. They fell in love and started this little place. She was actually linked to a dynasty, cultural dynasty in Minneapolis. Her parents owned the first Mexican restaurant in St. Paul and then in Minneapolis called La Casa Coronado. But that has long closed.
And there's the oldest family Italian restaurant in St. Paul, Urusso's.
Yeah, Urusso's and Giant Meatballs. And again, that's family owned, same family. And what I love about that place are giant murals of Sweet Hollow, especially. It is located right across from Sweet Hollow. You would never know that across the street is a hidden valley, below street level, right? We're a former immigrant shanty town, and in the book I give directions on how to get there because it's a little kind of windy, but you can find it.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was, when you were writing the book, what was like one of your favorite discoveries?
Well, I fell in love with the New York Life Eagle, and that's at Summit Overlook Park in the Summit neighborhood. It overlooks the River Valley.
I've lived right there. It's right across from the University Club on a whole point of land.
She's well, maybe because I'm a mother. She's a mother. She's there taking her talons into a serpent's, digging in there, protecting her nest of eaglets there in that pose. She was almost discarded. She used to be on the 3rd story entrance of the New York Life building in downtown St. Paul. And when that was removed, she really was nearly forgotten and discarded. And she was kind of put on a pedestal in front of a parking lot for a while until she found her new home here. And now she's in all her glory there. A nice spot while you're goggling over mansions there in that area.
Yeah. I had no idea about Newman's being the oldest bar in the state.
Well, that's the big question, because there's a tie between Newman's and the spot spot
Okay.
bar in St. Paul, and the feud. I'm sure St. Spot fans will be mad at me for including Newman's, but I included the spot bar in Secret Twin Cities, so it had to be fair. But those two kind of feud over that spot, and they both have very good reason, but different reasons to want to claim that title. So yeah, that Newman's is famous for their frog tank in the window.
What is the story of the frog tank? Do you know?
You ask people there, and they've just been the tank of frogs has just been there as long as anybody can remember. It's just a tradition that they keep going, and I guess the frogs have disappeared every now and then. One was found in a pitcher of beer, but this place has a hidden door behind the tank of frogs that it's only used for special events, but they used to hide, have kind of a speakeasy up there during Prohibition, and that's where you could sneak up there and have a legal hooch. And there was like a phone that connected upstairs to the main bar to let the bartenders know when the cops were coming sniffing around.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I love it. You go into all this detail, like 1972, the oldest food co-op is the Seward Food Co-op. Who knew that was, I don't know, the Twin Cities co-op movement has been so strong, but who knew Seward was the first? I didn't. I thought the Wedge was the first.
Yeah. No, they were really kind of the first and now the most enduring. And what I didn't know was what a violent struggle the food co-op went through in those early years. It sounds kind of like stuff going on these days with, there was a takeover.
Yep.
That tried to take over with steel bars and fire bombs, but they failed, because there was such a difference of philosophy, and because these were really some veteran radicals really disagreed with what they called the white bourgeois elitism. That's kind of how the opposing group.
Oh, those bourgeois co-op people.
Yeah. And there's a new documentary about that called The Co-op Wars that was created in 2021. Super interesting to learn about the whole early Twin Cities co-op scene.
Yeah, that sounds neat. Well, this is a great book. Your second book, Julie Jo Severson, Oldest Twin Cities, A Guide to Historic Treasures. Are you already working on your third?
Not yet. Promoting this is full-time right now. So.
Yes. Yeah, well, it's fun to visit with you and to hear the story and to just get more history about some of these great spots. Pick up the book and then take your own kind of historical tour, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you, Julie Jo, and thank you for highlighting some of our relics, treasures. A fabric of a community is always about the history where you come from, right? And it's good to be reminded of some of these great spots. I sat on that anchor all summer last summer and I never knew. So I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk soon. Okay. Bye-bye.